What's up, everybody? We back up in here, Hella Flagrant Podcast. You already know what time it is. I'm your man, Flagrant DM. I'm in here with my brother, Sean B. Flagrant. We not even going to mess around with it, man. Week 12 of the NFL got some hella flagrant stories going on. We're going to start it right off at the top with Reuben Foster, man. We not even going I don't even want to play with the whole situation. Reuben Foster was arrested Saturday right here in Tampa Bay where I live. The night before the 49ers were supposed to play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he was arrested on domestic violence charges. They were misdemeanor charges, which we later have learned that they were against his same girlfriend, Alicia Ennis, who he was in trouble with earlier this year and almost was released from the 49ers then. Following this arrest, Sunday morning, John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan put out a statement saying that the 49ers had immediately released Reuben Foster. I jumped on the flagrantfoul.com, put out a story, Reuben Foster's released. I figured he was done in the NFL. Much to my surprise, this morning we get up and the Washington Redskins managed to prove me wrong.
Man.
And they just picked up Reuben Foster off waivers. Bruh,
I don't know. Desperate time goes for desperate measures, I guess, or calls for desperate measures. I don't know. I can't explain this. 72 hours right after Reuben Foster was released, like you said, by the 49ers, Washington Redskins pick him up immediately. Now, one thing I will say, the Washington Redskins do not have to play him, and they said that they will not play him until the court system goes through. So basically, it's kind of like they claimed him off waivers. They don't have to do anything with him as of right now. If he doesn't pass and the court system says that he is guilty of his, misdemeanor and it was for domestic violence, then he will be released.
Okay, but if was a fifth, we'd all be drunk. You feel what I'm saying? Right. What else does he need to do to prove that his character is not even questionable at this point? Okay, so let's go back to college.
Right.
When he was at Alabama, got into trouble back then, right? NFL GMs overlooked it, shrugged it off. It's all right. We'll take you. Let's go. All right. Then you get a marijuana possession charge. Then you get this whole other domestic violence case. And that incident seemed to be pretty violent. From the description of that case, it seemed to be pretty violent. However, that situation managed to get reversed. The same girl in this case came and said she lied about everything, made it all up, and Reuben Foster was exonerated. John Lynch was happy to sign him, and now we're right back in the same situation. Again, Washington, I hear what you're talking about. We're going to wait to see what the case... Forget all that. Why do you even need for the details of the case to come out and say, okay, well, then once it happens, because even if, let's say she goes back and says, I lied about this situation too, are we really going to believe that?
No. I mean, I didn't believe it in the first place. Let's think about this, okay? The first time that he was arrested for domestic violence, at least as we know, when he was with the San Francisco 49ers, the case came out that he beat her eardrum to where she basically couldn't hear. He dragged her by her hair through the mud, hit her 8 to 10 times in the eardrum, like I said, busted her ear, and put an assault rifle on her. Now, I mean, that's pretty horrific to make up for anybody. I mean,
right.
The classic "he hit me" excuse could have worked in that sense, and they still would have looked into it. I mean, for somebody who said they drug you by the hair and pointed an assault rifle. Now, it did come out that he did have an assault rifle, and she did have messed up hearing. So that, it looks like it was truthful. Then later, like you said, it came out that she said she lied about it and she made the whole thing up. Now, I'm not going to sit here and speculate. I don't know the situation. I don't know her. I don't know Reuben Foster. But it sounds like from the situation that happened then to the situation that happened now, that the first time she did it, somebody came to somebody and said, look, I'm not going to get no money. If we're going to get back together, I got to have a job. So
Right.
if you keep this story up, I'm going to lose that. She made the lie up, or she came out and said he didn't do this, blah, 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 because they probably forgave each other right after it happened. Whatever. The 49ers actually told him to stay away from this woman. I don't think I've ever heard of an NFL team saying that somebody should actually stay away, keep their distance from another person, especially another woman. Now, you're on a road trip. You're not even expected to play in this game, okay? You show up to a Tampa hotel. There are 52 other men that are staying in that hotel room, including the coaches and the staff with you. You have 2 sets of floors that the 49ers vacate, okay? Now, she somehow shows up in another level of the hotel. Now, you can't stop anybody from buying a room. You can't keep anybody out, but the 49ers made it very clear that she was not on one of the floors that the 49ers vacated. So, what that means is that Reuben Foster intentionally went down to her room, which, whatever, we already knew that. And all this drama took place. Now, my thing is, in your head, Reuben Foster, knowing that this situation came up, why would you invite her to the hotel that your team is on? While if anybody walks out, including the coach, even sees that woman in the hotel and sees you around him, they're going to probably do something about it.
Right.
Secondly, why would you go to a room and make trouble? I don't know what the story was about, but if my coach was upstairs, I don't think I'm slapping anybody in the face.
Right.
Period, point blank. Now, maybe that's just me. I don't know. I don't know how the rest of the world feels, but I don't think I would put that on my plate.
And so there comes to be a couple of levels of things that need to be uncovered here, right? Because it just feels like Reuben Foster carried on as if he felt like, oh, I got off and I got a pass. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like he felt like he had the team support as long as everything stayed hush-hush. You know what I'm saying? And that's just me. I could be wrong. He could have, this could be way outside of the team's knowledge, but I feel like Reuben Foster carried on as if to say, all right, we took care of this, and I'm gonna just keep carrying on because, as long as everything stays on the hush, the team is fine.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. That's been Reuben Foster's case throughout. I mean, I'm not going to say his whole life because I don't know the man, but his whole football career, at least from Alabama's sake. Mm-hmm. Getting arrested in Alabama. Nobody did anything with the police when he got arrested and busted for weed. Just let it go. Didn't pass his drug test at the NFL Combine. Tried to fight the person that gave him the drug test like it was her fault for having fake pee. Nothing happened. Another case, I think it was another marijuana charge when he was with the 49ers. Nothing happened. Gun charge with the 49ers. Nothing happened. Then he has domestic violence while he's pulling out assault rifles and pointing at women's head. Nothing happened. Well, 2 games, sorry. But they swept it right under the rug. Right. Now this. And you can say, okay, well, 49ers let him go, so he didn't get away with the consequences. Well, who just picked him up 72 hours later?
Right. At some point, the league's got to step in and say, wait, hold on. You know what? We can't allow this. He's got to spend at least a year away from football, away from all of this, go to rehab, whatever the case may be, and maybe the league will put you back through some evaluation system. But just because one team let him go, another team shouldn't be like, all right, well, it's cool. We'll just take him. It's fine. Right. You know what I mean? We don't care about none of that stuff. It didn't happen over here. We'll just take him. Because the other thing that it leads to, and the second point I want to bring up is another guy that played for my team, and I guess I'm so passionate about this because Reuben Foster plays for my team, and I was really hoping the 49ers would get a win in Tampa. There was a lot of other reasons we lost that game. Reuben Foster had nothing to do with it.
No, Reuben Foster didn't have anything to do with that game.
But another player that the 49ers kind of swept too much under the rug with was Aldon Smith. And we saw what happened with Aldon Smith. Aldon Smith went way too far. And I have a feeling that Reuben Foster may be going down that same path. And if Washington's not careful, they're going to be ending up with a dude wandering around D.C. barefoot with a shotgun, saying that he plays for their team. Like, what is going on?
Well, I mean, I have the same concern, obviously. I mean, Alden didn't play as long for the Raiders as he did for the 49ers. Obviously, he was a monster when he did play for the 49ers, and that's why his talent, he was given so many chances because people wanted him to be great, but Alden couldn't get out of his own ways. Same case like you said with Reuben Foster. I'm not saying that they're the same person. I'm not saying Reuben can't learn from this, but we've seen Alden self-destruct in front of our very eyes. I mean, he lives out here in the Bay Area still, and he can't get right while not playing football. The NFL had to basically ban him from playing because too many times Alden kept messing up. I mean, who shows up to their alcohol testing drunk? And not just drunk. They said he was like 4 times over the legal limit. Do you really think you're going to pass an alcohol test when you're drunk?
But to me, again, like it relates to the Reuben Foster thing that I just brought up. Alden Smith, to me, carried on as if he felt like, well, I could just get away with it because I'm so used to people sweeping things under the rug for me. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? And I think Reuben Foster is that way. And I think a lot of guys are getting conditioned to feel that way about the NFL and professional sports. It's like, all right, well, as long as I do this, I can do this. As long as I do this, I can do that.
But why should they not? I mean, we just talked about this earlier, and I'm going to bring it to you guys, the listeners, to understand this. Alden Smith, who I just talked about, basically just got a slap on the wrist. Same situation, same thing, domestic violence with his girlfriend, same thing. 4 charges, domestic violence. All 4 of them were misdemeanors, but entrapment, all types of stuff that he got on it with the legal system on that situation. They basically came out yesterday, and they gave him 90 days in jail, which is already accredited that he's already, I guess, served when he did his alcohol rehabilitation thing. But he left that, first of all.
Right.
Let's be clear. He left that.
He walked away from the alcohol.
He walked away of that, but they gave him the 90 days credit for that, and they gave him 3 years probation, which everybody in the world gets for anything that they do when they get arrested, and 25 hours of community service. 25 hours, so basically a full day or three full days of work. But let's be honest, he's not going to do anything because he can't be outside, around the public. You're not going to see him on the side of the freeway or anything like that. Alden Smith will just be sitting there in a room and going to write him a note, and he's probably just going to sit there and watch TV or talk to somebody, and that's it.
And that's it.
And that's it.
And that's it. And that's again, I don't make the rules for the NFL. I don't uphold the rules for the NFL or for professional sports players or whatever the case may be. But you are creating a culture and not creating, it exists. You are continuing to allow a culture of, hey, I can do what I want without any consequences to go on when you let this kind of stuff happen. And again, people make mistakes. I've made mistakes. We've all made mistakes. People make mistakes. You feel what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? If you're not learning nothing from it, if you're continuing to make the same mistake over and over again, how much rope do you give somebody? And you're paying them millions of dollars. It's not like I'm just letting you off the hook and you're going to go make minimum wage. I'm forgiving you and you're making millions.
Right. And that's why they won't learn, because I mean, if you're giving them so much money and you're just telling them, you know what, you just got to get better. You just got to do this. You got to do this. But it's okay because we need you to go get this first down real quick. It's not going to help anything because as long as this person knows, as long as he puts something on the field when he does play. See, that's another thing. You're doing all this, but you're taking games away from him. But he's like, well, when I do play, I make you money. So what you want me to do?
Well, and I get it. I mean, the Redskins are second in the AFC East, only to their rivals, the Cowboys, right now, and so a good defensive stance could get them a wild card shot.
I mean, the Cowboys can't say nothing because they got some criminals on their team too.
Right.
So
right. So I get it, Washington. You need a linebacker. I completely understand. Somebody else brought this up, and this will be the last point I make on this whole situation, and we'll move far from it. But Reuben Foster, under all the legal trouble that he's been in, right,
has
been hurt too. hasn't even really played the last couple of weeks, has been hurt, picked up on waivers by the Redskins immediately after an arrest, right?
Right.
Redskins needed a quarterback, but Colin Kaepernick couldn't get a workout, though.
It's true.
You'll take a criminal, a woman beater, failed drug tests, holding the assault rifles,
right?
Who is hurt.
It's crazy. It's crazy because if you hear Colin Kaepernick when they say, okay, now they got Colt McCoy because Alex Smith just got hurt. Who's back up? Alex Smith in his previous time, obviously, Colin Kaepernick. But you think about it, you're like, well, there's no way that Colin Kaepernick will ever be able to play in Washington, D.C. Like, that makes no sense. Right. How does it make sense for a man with domestic violence to play there, though? Like, that's the problem with this. It's like a
fresh case, too, though. Like, we ain't even been to trial. Like,
it's exactly correct. He hasn't been to trial. We don't know what's going on with Reuben Foster
at all.
I don't even know if he's out of jail, to be honest with you.
And even if
just called him on the phone.
If he is, we don't even know if he can play because he's hurt. So, like, y'all put a hurt man on waivers. Like, okay, we'll take him. But now, Colin Kaepernick, we not even going to look at you, bro. We can't do that taking a knee and standing up for your rights stuff. That ain't it over here.
It's way more an offense. That's way more an offense than domestic violence, obviously.
Well, again, the other thing is if you're on a team called the Redskins, obviously you don't care about how people feel about anything because that's just derogatory in and of itself. But we ain't gonna go there.
Yeah, we can't touch that.
We're not gonna touch that. Sticking with NFL though. Baker Mayfield has had a lot of choice words for his former coach, Hugh Jackson.
Yeah.
Not necessarily sure where all the beef stems from. Don't know if there was some locker room stuff going on that we don't know about, but it just seems like, and I get it. Hugh Jackson left Cleveland to go coach or have some weird position at Cincinnati, which is kind of down the street and a rival. And Baker took some shots at him for it, but really, like it seems like it's deeper than that. I don't know.
Now let's not say that he went and took a job over there. Hugh Jackson got fired.
Right.
He got fired because he won what, 2 games, 1 game at that point. They won 1 game in 2.5 years.
Yeah. He
didn't go to Cincinnati. He had to leave. When he got fired, he had to join a team so he could put food on his table.
Right.
Like, I don't blame him for that. Now, Baker Mayfield is a competitor. That's the one thing I do know. I will say that about Baker. If you don't like his height, you don't like the way he plays, I know he can be kind of outlandish and flagrant. There you go. But, the dude plays hard, and he always has a chip on his shoulder. So, if that's what it took for him to play better against the Cincinnati Bengals, I'm all for it, especially since I had him on my fantasy team. Worked out. But my point is this. I think that just basically how they used Baker, not just Hugh, but their offensive coordinator, because he also was let go at the same time. I feel that Baker felt like he wasn't able to do certain things. He wasn't able to maybe show his true talent. They ran vanilla offenses, kind of like, I don't think Hugh wanted to get fired. I think Hugh knew it was his time, and he didn't want to show a lot and have Baker just kind of run around and, be reckless with the ball. He just wanted to play vanilla and just kind of make it to the next year. Kind of like how Marvin Lewis has been doing for 16 years.
Right.
First of all, that's a joke. Let me talk about that. This man hasn't been a play. I understand Stephen A. Smith talks about this all the time. I'm not Stephen A. Smith. I'm not even going to try to do all that. But honestly, think about it. 16 years this man's been playing. They haven't won 1 playoff game.
Yeah.
I don't get it, man. Like, I don't get it. You wasted A.J. Green's whole career. I'm sorry.
And what Cincinnati does that Cleveland is refusing to do by keeping him. Cleveland refuses to admit that its front office has problems too. And yes, Hugh Jackson only won 2 games in 2.5 years or whatever the case may be. Y'all front office put him in a position to not win a lot of games too. So, like you said, he went to Cincinnati to put food on his table. He was ousted of Cleveland. It wasn't like, oh, I'm leaving Cleveland and I'm finna just, get a middle finger to Cleveland. No, he had to go somewhere, and Cincinnati offered him a job. He took a job. So again, I don't understand what Baker Mayfield's whole issue with Hugh Jackson is. Like, was there, like, to me, it just seems like there was something else going on in a lot, like the way the shots that he's trying to take, like, seem a little bit more personal than just, oh, you play for a rival team now.
Right, yeah, and I think it must have been something in the locker room. We have no idea. But yeah, he definitely doesn't like him at all. It doesn't seem like the whole team didn't like him. I mean, a lot of times during that game, I mean, a lot of players, like when one of their players intercepted the ball and handed it to Hugh on the sideline, Hugh didn't even understand what he was doing. He thought it was a great thing, tapped him on the head, everything like that. But yeah, I mean, Cleveland got their big win for the season. Shouts out to them, I guess.
I guess it's probably whatever.
Yeah, I mean, what is that? The second win they have all year, third win maybe. I mean, that's cool.
Whatever.
But you know the crazy thing about this is though, Hugh Jackson was on. I want maybe I get this wrong. He was on Cincinnati as an assistant coach, as offensive coordinator. Then he went to Oakland to the Raiders, my team, and was 8-8. Then he got fired from there. Then he went back to Cincinnati. Then he went to the Browns, and then he went back to Cincinnati. And the whole time, Marvin Lewis was still coaching. Does that make any sense at all? Like
not winning a playoff game.
And what makes it even more crazy is like they were like, if they do decide to find Marvin Lewis after 16 years, finally, they're going to look at Hugh Jackson to be the replacement. What? Like, why would you even think about that? Like, you seriously just watched this man fail at every single spot he was at. To a point where you were in the same division and he was
It's all right. It's all right. It's all right.
And you're gonna hire him? Like, what did you?
They like mediocre. They like mediocrity. And
that's not mediocrity. That's openly trying to tank. They've been tanking for 20 years. How do you tank for 20 years and not develop anybody? What process?
Hugh Jackson knows how to get us the draft picks we need. All right.
Yeah. Okay. To do what with? To run around and get exercise? That's cool. AJ Green must be. I don't even know what I would feel if I was AJ Green. Like I mean, think about this between Cleveland and Cincinnati. Do you think that's an 8-8 team?
No.
If they put their best players together, do you think they're gonna be 8-8?
Oh.
They can't even make the playoffs. This is sad. 16 years and both of y'all do this. No wonder LeBron left, man.
Man. Yeah, Ohio. Anyway.
You just let JR play a little bit. Let him play wide receiver. J.R. Smith to play a little bit of football, man. I mean,
J.R. Smith would play wide receiver and still tackle somebody because he thinks he's on the other side. Like,
yeah, it'll still be somebody making a play.
It'll
still be somebody making a play. You know what I mean?
Speaking of people running their mouth though about teams, Jalen Ramsey called out a lot of players on the Buffalo Bills before Jacksonville lost to the Buffalo Bills. Like literally, you trash is basically what he said, and then he lost. That wasn't a good look, sir. Not at all.
No, I like Jalen Ramsey a lot. I think he's a great cornerback. All pro. He just has to understand the offensive players that he has on his team, including and more importantly, Blake Bortles. Yeah. You can't sit there and run your mouth when you have a quarterback that literally is the worst, probably fundamental quarterback in the NFL. They have wasted. Well, I wouldn't say wasted because it's not all they completely done yet, but that defense is not up there with the 85 Bears or, the Ravens or Purple People Eaters or something like that. But that defense is comparable to what Seattle had back when, they went to the Super Bowl and won. But they don't have Russell Wilson. They don't have.
Okay, I hear that. I hear what you're saying, right? But this is the same. Like our offense is bad in Jacksonville, but you gave up 40 to Dallas.
True. But let's also think about this
30
though.
to Kansas City.
If let's say you were one of the best defensive players in the world, including some of your other teammates, and every time you got to stop, I got the ball back and threw three incomplete passes, and you got to get right back on the
No,
field.
you're in a bad field position. I get all that. I get all that. The difference is in football, you only got one half of the field to play. No matter what the offense is doing, you still got to put. And I know it's a lot of wear and tear on you when you on the field for a lot longer. When your offense is terrible and you got to be on the field a lot longer holding down these games. However, it doesn't merit you, Jalen Ramsey, as an individual player because, see, this is not basketball or baseball where your individual merits outshine the team efforts. You, as a cornerback, you can make 3-4 stops. You could bat down a couple balls. All that sounds great. But if Cowboys put up 40 on your fucking defense, you look bad, sir. And you don't have the right to put your finger in nobody's face calling anybody trash. You don't. I'm sorry.
True. I mean, I get that, and I understand that, but I mean, just as Richard Sherman used to be when he was on Seattle, just as anybody, Patrick Patterson, Deion Sanders, Josh Norman. I mean, you're gonna have your time because these are shut down corners. Nobody throws at Jalen Ramsey's direction. You know what I'm saying? Like, rarely ever does he get the ball thrown at him. He can't. Now, I understand that you can't be running around talking shit and have shit come out of your mouth or whatever, but he's doing his job as best he can. But it does look stupid, like you say, when somebody puts up 40 on you, or you get beat by Buffalo. You know what I'm saying? Like, that does look extremely bad. But in the same sense, I mean, he can't do any more than what he's doing. That man has been balling out this year. He has done a lot. He just needs to shut his mouth.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. He has been balling out. I look at him kind of like Odell. When Odell gets a ball thrown to him that he can catch, Odell's going to catch that thing and do his thing with it. The rest of his team may be terrible, but when he gets that ball thrown to him in a proper way, he's done his thing. And I look at Jalen Ramsey kind of the same way, and not necessarily because the rest of the defense is all right. Your offense is horrific. And so I get that. But at the same time, for me, you can't just be finger pointing, calling people trash, and then lose to the Bills. Like, that just it doesn't work for me. Sorry.
Yeah, true. I agree.
Getting out of the NFL onto some other matters at hand. NBA obviously is in full swing. And there are a lot of teams, shuffling around, and there's some news and controversy going on in the NBA. And one of the more, interesting and polarizing stories, we should say, because there's a lot of sides coming out about it, is Dwight Howard apparently has assaulted or is accused of assaulting what may or may not be his boyfriend. He may or may not be in a sexual relationship with a transgender individual. And this individual is claiming that Dwight has assaulted them. And so this is making a lot of headlines and obviously a lot of memes and a lot of Twitter jokes and a lot of things have come out about this.
Just gonna wipe myself off it. That was not just because it's hot in my house, but it's also because this is a very, very, very touchy subject. So I'll break it down like this. Saturday, I was sitting here watching the Warriors game and scrolling through Twitter. I just happened to see some Dwight Howard memes, and I didn't really understand what they were. They were all kind of leaning towards his teammates kind of being afraid or backing up away from him, for whatever reason. So I didn't know what it was. So I kind of looked up Dwight Howard. I didn't look up Dwight Howard, but I looked up, just kind of like memes about Dwight Howard, and I saw a few things, but I didn't really understand what it was. Went to sleep. The morning I woke up, and it kind of bothered me that I didn't understand what it was because I kept seeing a little bit more and more, memes and stuff like that. So I actually just typed in Dwight Howard, and the first thing that popped up was Dwight Howard may or may not. This could be speculation, but this is out now. be involved in a sexual relationship with a transgender individual. The person's name, I don't know if I'm getting this right, is Mason or Mason Elijah or Elijah. But there's a person out of Atlanta that Dwight is supposedly supposed to be seeing, according to this person on Twitter. Saturday night basically went off on Twitter saying everything about their relationship, saying he got receipts about what they did together, everything. And basically, but the more important thing was Dwight Howard threatened Mason or Masson, as well as his pastor, to keep quiet. So there was a one tweet that said Dwight and Mason had met during the casting of Wild 'N Out, the show on MTV.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of got together, talked a little bit, they hung out, everything got started going good, nothing, no problems. Until Dwight started seeing somebody else, and that wasn't clear that Dwight was seeing a man or a woman. But it just said Dwight.
Hold on. Was this person a part of the show? Not that it really matters, but were they a part of the show or were they just there?
I want to say they were there. I didn't actually see the show, but they could have been in the background. You know how in Wild 'N Out they have all the people that are in the background and stuff like that. So it could have just been somebody that was with the cast, but maybe not on the show. Anyway, so fast forward, and Dwight started seeing someone else, and Dwight wanted Masson to sign a NDA, which is a non-disclosure agreement. Mason he basically refused it. And then Dwight and his pastor basically, threatened Mason for it. I'm gonna read you real quick one of the tweets that actually came out. Just so I have it real quick. Sorry about that.
I have a lot of questions that I don't think I could ask on this show.
Yeah, I know. All right, let me see. All right, so this was a tweet from Mason Elijah. Elijah. I was afraid to speak, but today my life was threatened after I was sexually harassed, threatened, and manipulated by someone I respected, my ex-boyfriend, NBA player Dwight Howard, and his camp. Also catfished, you all know that great show, by his disrespectful ass pastor. Those are strong words. I mean, it's got a picture of Dwight and everything on here. It's not like trying to sugarcoat anything. So this is what I did. I actually wrote a story on this on the flagrantfl.com, so you can go read that after you view this video. But what I'm seeing from this is basically Mason's not afraid to say what he has to say. That's just what it is. I mean, it's a very touchy subject, obviously. I don't want to get into it because I don't know how Dwight feels. I don't know what the situation is between them, but I can say this. If this is true, I can understand why Dwight is trying to kind of hide everything and have Mason sign this non-disclosure agreement, because the NBA sports world, I should say, is kind of cruel. There have been incidences where things have happened to players that have come out that have spoke about their sexuality. So, Dwight being a big polarizing figure, very, very marketable person, even though he is in the back end of his career.
Yeah, very.
I mean, we're not going to talk about his terrible basketball playing. We're going to leave that out here. But
my favorite part of this story.
Oh yeah, I mean that's a whole other discussion for a whole other day. Yeah. So, but it's still a big story because I mean you still have to go in the locker room with your teammates. You also still have to go play on the same court as other men that probably have read this story already or probably have known anything about this. I mean, because if I'm sitting here and I know about it, and anybody who I've talked to so far knows about it or has read Mason Elijah's tweets or have seen the memes, they've all already made their public or their opinion about it publicly to their friends or whoever. So this has already probably got back to Dwight as well. Actually, I'll say this. Dwight's baby mama, who was on basketball wives, actually was posting about it on her Instagram. I just remember that she was posting about it. She actually had, how they have the popcorn with somebody eating the popcorn all frantically, like a movie. You know what I'm saying? Like something is like really into it. She posted that about it. Like I'm just gonna have to keep my mouth shut, and then obviously somebody commented under it talking about that's your baby daddy. This, and she said that was 12 years ago. I don't know what he do now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, I first of all, let me just say this: the flagrant foul takes a strong stance against domestic abuse. Period. No matter who it's against. So if there's harassment or abuse or whatever going on, shame on you, Dwight Howard.
right.
Second of all, you are absolutely right when you say that the sports world can be very critical, and super hypercritical with social media. They get to you fast. They hit where it hurts, and they do their best to try to like embarrass somebody. So I with you can also understand that if all of this is true, why Dwight Howard would keep it under the rug. So all I can say is that, again, if it is true, Dwight, at the end of the day, you do what you do off the court. That's your life. But keep your hands to yourself. Don't be harassing somebody. Because what it sounds like is that this person, probably wanted to be open and honest about the situation, and you wanted to shut them up, and you got pretty much, angry or, somewhat verbally abusive or violent because of that fact. And you really can't get mad at somebody for wanting to tell the truth. So at the end of the day, Dwight, if that's what you do, own it. You know what I'm saying? We headed into 2019. It's a lot different world than it was 10, 15 years ago. Own it, be a man, and that's it, and not be verbally and physically harassing anybody if that's how you get down, sir.
Yeah, I want to know what's going on with this pastor that's with. I mean, if that's true with the
Right.
pastor,
That's where I was going. When I said I had questions, I was like, what grown ass man, what grown ass pastor has time to be catfishing people? Like, what are you
right.
doing with your life that you sitting on Facebook making fake pages and catfishing people for Dwight Howard? Like,
Right. I wouldn't think that pastors usually promote anything that would have to do with them verbally abusing or assaulting somebody at all. Like
at
that
all.
doesn't seem like that's anything what pastors usually do. If that's true, you probably shouldn't be attending that service that man speaks of because he doesn't really understand what it takes to be a pastor.
Right. I thought it was love and compassion was like
Right.
the model of Christianity had to do with like love for all and compassion. Like, yeah, I don't see pastors aiding and abetting in harassment. Like, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, and we're not here to speak about religion too. Because I understand it's a touchy subject too, but I just still know that that's not what pastors are supposed to do. That ain't got nothing to do with religion. That's just fact. Like,
That's just a fact.
that's fact. So.
Oh man. So all right. So in some other flagrant news, Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson went head to head in a match over this past weekend. Competing for the elite title of golf's best, and it seems like very little people were, tuned in and watched this match. Phil Mickelson ended up winning, got $9 million, I think, for winning this match. But the sports world was just kind of tuned out from it. Did you watch? I didn't watch.
No. I had no interest in watching this. They
Tiger.
are. I mean, yeah, they are two of the best that's ever done it, and I understand it. But without a field, I just felt it was going to be boring. And supposedly it was. They didn't have a crowd, which made it pretty ridiculous. I mean, it was just two golfers playing by themselves. So I kept my 24 at $29.99 in my pocket because I didn't see any interest in it. I'm sure it was a great match between those two. I'm sure they had a good time between those two. I'm sure that they will talk about it for a while, as friends that, we had a good match ourselves. But I mean, if nobody was there to see it, if, we just watch it on TV, like, I mean, I can watch paint dry wherever. I
Right.
don't, nothing to say, nothing bad about either one of them. Just, I mean, for $9 million, you're just going to play your own private game. I mean, that's something rich people could do by themselves. I don't need to watch
Like
it.
I'm pretty sure Michael Jordan and Charles Barkley have played for $1 million in one of their houses and
Right,
didn't have to invite a ton of people out to come see it. They just played each other, and that was it.
right. I mean, I actually would have liked to see that actually
I,
happen.
I,
But,
I actually kind of too, but
yeah, but in golf sense, I mean, I don't see that. I mean, 18 holes of you two by yourself on walking around, like, that's not anything I have interest in. So, I mean,
no.
shout out to those people that did actually pay for it and watch it. From what I hear, they actually gave it to people for free. Pay per
Yeah.
view wasn't very happy with it in the ratings, so they wind up reimbursing people. So if you did watch it and you like golf and you like to just watch people stand around it, hit a golf ball, hey, it was your world. But for me, it was a pass.
Yeah. Speaking of sporting events that not a lot of people are interested in, apparently, Manny Pacquiao is set to fight Adrian Broner. And no one cares. Like no one any. I want to find out what the pay-per-view sales are right now for that fight. Like I don't even know. Is it even on? I think it's probably on Showbox. Like I don't even know where it is. Like it should be free. I hope this fight is free. Like if you're charging people to watch this, nah.
You
Like
know what? I actually think it's going to be on channel on CBS. They have the Premier Boxing um, thing, that our Premier Boxing Challenge that comes on towards the beginning of the year. I think it's going to be on that, which would be great actually, because I don't want to pay anything for that. I don't want to go to a bar and pay anything for it, and I don't want to spend my money on it. Would like to watch it. I mean, if I'm sitting in my own house before I do something else,
right.
but I don't want to pay for it. I mean, we all know Pacquiao is quite old. Um, I don't. I mean, he's won his last fight, but that doesn't say much. He lost the previous two before that. And he looked like a shell of himself. A few rounds, he became Pac-Man and
Right.
showed the world that he still had a little bit of speed. And then he reminded everybody that he is 1,000 years old, and did nothing.
And then you get to Adrian Bronner, whose mouth is bigger than his career. Because every time he had to step up in a notable fight, he got sat down.
Right.
So this should be interesting.
Right. You got the guy who thinks he's Floyd Mayweather and not anywhere close to his ability. And you got the guy who lost to Floyd Mayweather and
This is going to
should have
be
fought him.
this is going to be the boxing equivalent of the Raiders versus the 49ers. Like this is going to be that fight.
Wait. Who are the Raiders and who are the 49ers?
I don't know. I don't know.
I just thought about that. Wait a minute, because I don't want to be Adrian Broner. I'm sorry. Like, I can beat Pacquiao. I have no problem with being an old greater fighter that just lost his way. That could be me. That's fine. I don't want to have anything to do with Adrian Broner. Like, if that's the case, like, I gotta pick another team. I can't do that. Like,
okay, well then we'll use two just bad teams in general. We'll use the Atlanta Hawks playing against the terrible playing Houston Rockets right now or something like that. But
no, the funny thing about it is it actually is just like that, because we had all this hype going into the season, and we talked about it on this show how we kept waiting to see who was going to win, and we predicted this and we predicted that, and these teams are terrible. I mean, they have 4 wins between both of them, so it is this fight. It is this fight. So unfortunately, that was a great analysis by you, but I just wish it wasn't true. You know what I'm saying?
we gotta call it how we see it on the Flagrant Foul. It is what it is. I mean, I'm a fan, but I'm a realist too at the same time. So yeah, that'll be interesting in January. Broner Pacquiao. If I happen to flip through my TV and it's on, and I remember to watch it, I may tune in. We'll see. Um, so rounding out the show before we end this thing, we definitely got to tap in with you, Sean B. Flagrant, and get notable NFL bets for this week. What games are you looking at?
Well, I'm gonna go with a few. I'm gonna go with the bigger implicated games, I guess you could say, for this week. This is week 13, obviously in the NFL. We're rounding out the season. Um, just a few more weeks. Pretty soon, a lot of teams will just start resting their players. They're not gonna be playing very hard because they're gonna get ready for this playoff, push. So, with that being said, we have a few teams in a few divisions that actually need to win a few games because if they don't, they'll be knocked out. Won't get a wild card or won't be at the top of the division. Start off with the Dallas Cowboys New Orleans Saints, I should say, versus Dallas Cowboys because New Orleans is coming to Dallas to play. This is a short week, obviously, for both teams. New Orleans played Atlanta. Well, actually, take it back. It's not a short week for both teams because both teams played on Thanksgiving, Thursday night. So it actually is a full week of rest. I don't know how they got out of that, both teams. I mean, Dallas seems how always gets that situation. But anyway, it's still a full week of rest. So both teams have no advantage, I should say, on this situation. We all know New Orleans hasn't lost a game since Tampa came down there in the first week and beat them. I don't know how that happened. That was when Fitzmagic was actually somebody, and now Tampa is terrible. But anyway, New Orleans has been, winning since then. Dallas has had a little bit of a harder road. They have won games. Obviously, they are right now. They're in top of the division. Yeah. I don't know why I don't like Dallas at all, but
they're tied, but they have the win over Washington. So yes,
which happened last week, Thursday, also on Thanksgiving. Now, this usually is it's a letdown spot for Dallas, I would say, just because it's one of those games that I don't think Dallas can win and will be up for. Well, no, they will be up for, but I don't think they have enough shooting power to battle with Drew Brees. Now, I will say this though: I would not take New Orleans to 7.5. And I know it sounds crazy because New Orleans, they've been beating everybody by 50 points, but they don't do it away from the Superdome. They do beat teams away from the Superdome, but not always by such a dramatic effect, except for, Cincinnati, who we just talked about in the show, is terrible.
Right.
I would take the over in this situation. I feel like I wouldn't say as anemic as Dallas offense has looked prior to this. It seems like they're coming into their own, adding Amari Cooper from the Raiders seems to actually have helped them a lot. Their defense is coming around, but I don't think that they will be able to stop Drew Brees, Alvin Kamara, Melvin Ingram, Michael Thomas, you name it, whoever you want to say. The Saints can't be stopped by anybody. So, and it is a dome, so there will be no weather implications right now. So, if I was to bet anything on this game, even though it's a Thursday night, usually Thursday nights tend to be low scoring, except for some games. I would take the over just because it is in a dome. Is the over? What is it over? 51.5 right now?
Yeah. So here's my thing as to why I feel like Dallas may need to win this game. And whether or not they can is up to how they play on the field. But I'm looking at their schedule, rounding out the rest of the season, and I'm looking at Washington, who they're tied with, in their division schedule. Washington has a lot easier schedule finishing out the season. Dallas does not.
Right. Very correct.
And so, obviously, I'm sorry, I had to laugh. The tickets, when you look at the ticket prices for their game against Tampa Bay, they say tickets start at $12. Sorry. I'm sorry. That's just because if you look at them, if you look at all the other games, like at Indianapolis and New York Giants, the ticket prices start at $114. When it goes to Tampa, it says starting at 12.
Okay, discount game.
But anyway, looking at the rest of Dallas' schedule, though, I think Washington has a much easier schedule. And not to say that, again, not to say New Orleans is going to let them walk in and just beat them, but Dallas has to come in with the mindset that they need to get this win because their schedule down the road seems to be a little bit harder than Washington. That's just my take on that.
And I agree with that. I agree wholeheartedly with that statement. The only problem is I just cannot put my money to bet against Drew Brees and what he's doing this year.
And I also agree with that as well.
That's why I feel like the over is probably the play, just because I know Drew Brees is going to put up at least 27 to 55 points in this game. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, Drew does not disappoint. If he has an off night, he's going to still put up at least 30 points.
Yeah.
If Dallas is winning, they're not going to just lay down. Like, they will come back and they will fight. Drew will keep going. So I do think it will be more of a higher scoring game. If I had to choose, like I said, I can't pick against Drew Brees right now and the way he's playing. But like you said, Dallas is hungry and they need this win probably more than the Saints do, because the Saints are going to be first place no matter what.
Right.
So the next game I have on the docket that I would probably like to bet, New England and, well, keep saying the other team first, Minnesota Vikings and the New England Patriots. Now, this game starts off, I think my book says at 6. I had 5. Do you have 5 or you have 6? Because with the bet I saw New England was minus 6 points even.
Damn, hold on. I just went away from that page.
I'll put it like this: it doesn't matter either way. It's either minus 6 or minus 5. This is a game for the Patriots to kind of get right.
5.5.
5.5. I think the Vikings could have a chance. I think that Kirk Cousins seems like he's a little bit better with playing, but you got to remember too, this is Minnesota, who plays in the Dome as well, who's going over to New England, Foxborough, who the Patriots don't ever lose in Foxborough. Let's put it like that. They've been terrible on the road. They didn't show much promise this week against the Jets, or this past week, I should say, against the Jets. So it does lean to seem that maybe Brady can, be taken down, because honestly, Brady hasn't looked great this year. They do have, I guess, the weapons you want to say, but they don't have the weapons. It doesn't seem like Josh Gordon and him haven't really connected too much during the year. They just got Gronk back, so that might help. Edelman is Edelman with their team. They're running Sony Michel a lot, so that might help. It kind of seems like they're trying to use less of Tom Brady than they have to, basically trying to save his arm. So they've been doing a lot of run game, is what I've
seen. They also, and I don't want to say that they can cruise, but they've also dominated their division already this year. It is fervently clear that they're going to win their division and go ahead and get their playoff spot. And so maybe they don't use a lot of Tom Brady. Maybe they come out. I don't want to call them lax, because I don't ever want to sleep on Bill Belichick. But maybe they don't come out nearly as aggressive as normal, because they are, like you said, we're in 13. They're comfortably ahead of their division. Maybe they don't come out as aggressive. I don't know.
And like I said before, Minnesota is a dome team, but if they can get over that problem, I guess you could say, they have more weapons to go through. Adam Thielen is having a monster year. Obviously, I know he's on my fantasy team as well. Stephon Diggs is their deep threat. Rudolph actually played pretty well last game. They just got Dalvin Cook back. Latavius Murray is running for them as well. So if Kirk Cousins can, if the offensive line can keep up and let Kirk Cousins get a pocket to throw in, they can keep up with the Patriots. You're right. I mean, it can come down maybe to 3 points. The one thing I did see that will not be a very good situation for them is Xavier Rhodes got hurt in
Yeah.
this previous game, who is clearly their best defender, at least in the secondary, that is. He's hurt. They still don't have their safety, who is, I think his name is Vallejo or something like that. But he is outstanding. And with that backfield kind of decimated, it might be a little bit of a problem, especially if Tom Brady can sit there and just, pick apart that defense in the backfield. So I'm leaning towards Patriots to win this game if they can control the clock. But if Kirk Cousins does come back and does make this a game by throwing the football a lot, it might be an interesting game. I'm just gonna be honest with you. If it was me taking this game, I'd probably still take the Patriots -5. I just it's something about Tom Brady and Bill Belichick knowing the situation being in Foxborough that I think it's a little more daunting than people think. And when Bill Belichick and them get into a shootout, they perform. I mean, we've seen that with the Kansas City game. They came and played. When they do get pushed, they can push back. And I don't know if Kirk Cousins can do that. I feel like he has great games here and there, but the majority he's kind of a letdown. And when the push comes to shove, I'm going to take Tom Brady over Kirk Cousins any day. So, the last game I'm going to get to. Well, actually, no, I'm going to talk about two more games, or two more games, I should say. This next past game, I'm going to go kind of quick. Los Angeles, I almost said San Diego. Los Angeles Chargers versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers are favored by 3.5. I'm just going to be simple. I think Steelers are going to win this game. I understand that the Chargers are on a winning streak right now. I understand that Philip Rivers is playing great football. He's also on my fantasy team. But I'm just same thing about, Pittsburgh. I feel the same way about New England. They're completely different at home. And the Chargers have been known to fail when the lights are the brightest. They just do. I don't know what it is, but they cannot perform. They cannot get right. And the thing about it is, you just lost Melvin Gordon to an injury. Eckler is a great running back, but he's not Melvin Gordon. Without having that in the backfield, I mean, if Philip just has to sit there and throw, now I'm not saying he can't make passes, but if they cannot get to Ben Roethlisberger, he's going to have a field day on that secondary from Los Angeles. So I'm just going to be simple and straightforward. I just think this is a get-right game for the Steelers, and this might be an easy one, especially since it's only 3.5. That's a field goal. I'll take the Steelers in this game.
Yeah, I'm there with you. It is, like you said, a get right game for the Steelers. It is also make or break for the Steelers, not necessarily in terms of divisional, but definitely in terms of overall record. Because at that point you drop to 7-4-1, and that tie starts to hurt you a little bit if you can't get this win. Looking at the next 4 games after that, so I'm going to say that the Steelers come out hungry, being at home, and I'm with you on that one.
Yeah. The last game I want to talk about, I don't really have that big of a lean to this one, but I will talk about it. Washington Redskins are coming to play the Philadelphia Eagles in Philadelphia. Obviously, the point line is 6.5. Favored for the Eagles. Obviously, the Eagles are -6.5. I don't know about this game, honestly. I didn't like the effort that Colt McCoy gave in Philadelphia. I mean, in Dallas. This is his second road game. I don't know. Their lines beat up. Obviously, I think that I think it was their offensive tackle was taken out on a stretcher in that Dallas game. He won't be there. Reuben Foster is not going to play, so don't worry about that. But their defense has holes in it. We've seen that from the Dallas game. Same thing we talk about with talking a lot. Josh Norman, we love him on this show, but that defense ain't
I
that
mean,
defense.
yeah, I mean, all you got is Josh and DJ Swearinger left. Like, those are the last two guys that are actually making plays defensively for you, unfortunately. And they're good, but they're the only two you got. You
Right.
need 7 to at least 9 other people on the field to help them make plays. My thing with this game, being that it's in Philadelphia, obviously it's going to be tough on Washington. Being that you got Colt McCoy and not Alex Smith is going to be tough on Washington. But looking at playoff implications, right? Dallas, Washington, Philadelphia. Dallas and Washington tie. Philadelphia is right behind both of them. Washington plays Philly twice in the next 5 games, but the other 3 games are winnable games. So to me, if Washington can split one of those 2 games with Philadelphia, maybe this isn't the one. Maybe Philadelphia takes this win and then Washington wins, at the end of the season when Philly may want to try to rest everybody, which they may not be because they may be in a situation where they need to play people for a win. But that game's in Washington, last game of the season on December 30th. That game's in Washington. I think that Washington's going to try its hardest. I think 6.5 may not make it. I think it may be a closer game than 6.5. I still feel like, though, because it's in Philadelphia, Philadelphia may edge this one out. But I feel like Washington will come with the mindset of we need this win, especially because they just lost to Dallas. And so this being another divisional game, they're going to come out with the fire. Not saying Philadelphia won't, but Washington will, which I think will push Philadelphia. And Philadelphia still may win, but I don't think it'll be by a touchdown.
No, I agree. I definitely agree with that. I just would never put my money on Colt McCoy in this situation.
No.
Being 2 straight, I guess you could say, road games, and just being a starter, I feel like Colt McCoy is a serviceable quarterback, and he's not a starting quarterback for a reason.
Yeah.
The Eagles haven't beat anybody by any amount of score lately. They beat the Giants last week, barely. They should have lost the game. Point blank. That's on the Giants because they should have ran the ball in the second half with Saquon Barkley, who was dominating that game. So the Eagles' secondary is decimated. Weirdly, I look at this game and I would probably take an over if I had to bet. I know it sounds crazy because, it is 2 teams that look like they are terrible, but the Eagles are literally playing with 4 new cornerbacks.
Yeah.
You got that, and like we talked about, the Washington can't keep anybody from doing anything, and they're on their 2nd straight road game. Like they're not going to be doing too much of anything. If I had to bet, like you said, because it is a playoff indicating game, so they're probably going to be ramped up because this, like I said, this is going to control the division pretty much.
Yeah.
Especially if Dallas loses, on Thursday night. So, this definitely will probably come into play if that. So I would more look towards the over. Just because I don't think any of these defenses are really going to be able to stop anybody. Colt McCoy might stop himself, but even if the NFL, what is the spread? 44, I guess. 44 and a half.
44.
You got to think about it. Even like let's just say Colt McCoy has a bad game, pick 6. Now or just a pick, and now the Eagles are in field goal range, or he has a sack fumble or something like that. Like
I feel like this is going to end up as a Scott Van Pelt bad beat. I feel like this is going to be one of those games where it's going to be like a situation where like the total score is at like 41 and somebody manages to fumble the ball for a pick 6 or something like that. Like I feel like it's going to be that bad of a game to where like something like that happens.
Weirdly, this is the NFL. I know it sounds crazy, but I've had to learn this honestly, and I'm telling all the bettors that they do this. I've had to learn this time and time again, and I still make mistakes with this. I actually made a mistake last week by betting this with the Oakland Raiders. There's no unders anymore. No. Like if you're gonna bet an under, you have to look at a score that's around 50s or 60s because it doesn't take that much to score 20 points now. Everything is given to the offense, and you have to literally play a perfect game. Both teams have to play a perfect game for the score to go under. Yeah. So, if it's around 40, 44, and two teams have any little bit of offense. And now Colt McCoy's been in that system for 6 years. He might not be the best quarterback, but I mean, as long as somebody's open, he can throw the ball.
Yeah, it's like taking unders in college. Never.
Yeah, so I mean, if I had to put this because I can't necessarily lean towards the Colts in this. The Redskins in this game. I don't know why I said the Colts. The Redskins in this game. Oh, Colt McCoy. Sorry. I can't lean towards the Redskins in this game at 6.5 plus the 6.5, only because I don't trust Colt McCoy. But if I had to make an official play on this, it would be the over. Just because the over is so low, and I just feel like both teams will be trying as hard as they possibly can to get this done. I mean, look towards weather and see if there's any weather implications going on. If it's not, just shoot the over. I mean, you can't go wrong with scoring points. I mean, they might not get it, but if I had to bet anything on this game, if you really want to bet this game, bet the over.
All right, well, that wraps up NFL Week 13 betting lines, as well as Hella Flagrant, the podcast, episode number 4. As always, it's been a pleasure being in here, kicking it with y'all, as we always do. And, you guys could always find more Hella Flagrant stories, all the crazy, controversial sports news stories on the flagrantfoul.com. You see it right there at the bottom of your screen. Make sure you tap into the flagrantfoul.com. You can also find us. You can find both of our Instagrams is on the flagrantfoul.com. But you can find at Sean B. Flagrant, at Flagrant DM on Instagram, and get at us over there. Make sure you go to our YouTube page and subscribe. The links are on the website. It's on the Instagram. It's everywhere. So go to the YouTube page and make sure you subscribe to that. And then make sure you visit hellaflagrant.com for all of your Flagrant Foul and Hella Flagrant merchandise.
Yeah, man, we want to thank you guys, of course, for coming out and watching this. I mean, obviously we do this for y'all, so the Hella Flagrant podcast would not be where it is today without you. So please, like he said, subscribe, like, follow all of it, the Instagram page, Twitter accounts, everything we have, the Flagrant Foul Instagram, my Instagram, there's Instagram, Flagrant DM. Just follow everything that we got. Like you said, here we go right here. Flagrant Foul shirts are still available. hellaflagrant.com. You can get it right now. Just type www.hellaflagrant.com. Go in there and search the merchandise. You can also get there from the website, theflagrantfoul.com. So either way, go in one of those ways and get on there, buy a few shirts for you. You know what I'm saying? Christmas time is almost here. What better way to show it off with one of these? Yeah, but thank you guys for, coming out. Hella Flagrant the podcast. Episode 4 is a wrap. So,